As we look ahead to their Christmas Day matchup in the Bay against the Golden State Warriors, we say howdy to our Tim McMahon.
Howdy, Malika.
See, it just makes my day every time. And we say hello to Anthony Slater, whose last name is looking a little bit more holiday festive today. But, Tim, what stood out to you the most by the way that Cooper is really finding his rhythm here?
Malika, you mentioned it. He was knocking the three down. This has been the one flaw in his game since they stopped this experiment of him at point guard. 4 of 6 from three. It's a career high, season high, whatever you want to call it for him. This is a guy who had been shooting at 23%. If he's knocking down to three, forget about it. There's really not a ceiling on him as a scorer. But forget what stood out to me. I asked Joker, Nikola Jokic, a 3-time MVP, what stood out to him about Cooper Flagg's performance. He said the poise that he plays with, he doesn't seem so young out there. He raved about this kid's maturity, said it feels like he's played in big games before and won a lot of games in his life.
Yeah, that's what Mark Spears and I were talking about in the break. He really has a maturity that's beyond his years. By the way, tough way to end that game for Denver, but I did love how the team came around Peyton Watson because I can't imagine that feeling, knowing you were wide open and missing that three. Slater. I really appreciate, one, you always being down for my holiday puns here. And second, in the wake of the Draymond situation that we saw happen in their last outing, when he went back to the locker room, he didn't come in for the rest of the game. How can the Golden State Warriors find a little bit more jolly joy this holiday season going into this next game?
Winning. And, you know, that was kind of maybe the underrated part of what happened the other night. Like, it's been tense around them. They were 13 and 15 recently, and that was kind of a boiling point of what has been a situation that led to that moment. But they won. They blew out the Magic. That was one of their better wins of the year. Two wins in a row, which I think has helped. And also, they got 2 days off. And I think this was an important time for them to get away from each other, right? They had yesterday completely off. They're going to practice a little bit later today. And then they get a showcase game tomorrow that I think they're all going to be pretty focused and tuned into. So I think it comes at a pretty good time. And then on the Draymond front, you know, asking people around the organization, they put this pretty low on like the Draymond Richter scale, basically, of situations. But if you look in his past, his answer to these type of situations has always been to play really well. Jordan Poole incident a few preseasons ago, he was a second-team all-defensive player that year. Last year, he's third, in defensive player of the year. His answer can be on the court. If he just has a very strong string of play coming up, everyone's going to forget about it, and his future will be secure with the Warriors. If he doesn't, the chatter will continue. Yeah, and that strong play can look like less turnovers here for Draymond Green because that's been a problem for them their last couple of games here. But that's such a good point. Sometimes absence makes the heart grow fonder. That's how it is with Tim Bontemps and Tim McMahon, at least. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Merry Christmas, and we'll see you tomorrow at the game. But in terms of that game tomorrow, things don't get much stranger, if you will, than Curry on Christmas because he's coming off a monster performance. Last year against the Lakers, he had a game-high 38 and a loss, but historically, for whatever reason, he struggled on the holiday. Time only averaging 17 points on 28% shooting from three, which is pretty uncharacteristic here. But there are so many storylines, Mark, within this Warriors-Mavericks matchup here. What's the one that you think fans should be paying most attention to?
I'm going back to the Rook. I'm going back to Cooper Flagg, who's been super hot. This is going to be his first Christmas game. You know, Wilt Chamberlain scored 45 points in his first Christmas game.
Right.
LeBron James scored 34. What couldn't Cooper Flagg do, especially if Draymond's guarding him?
Well, I'm looking for Klay Thompson back in the Bay Area. That's always a fun one. And he's heating up a little bit, shooting 37% from three in December.
I am very much looking forward to that. Perk, what you got?
Well, I'm looking at the forgotten child, the one that nobody buys Christmas presents for Christmas, and that's Anthony Davis, who's been balling since he's returned from injury. By the way, has helped Cooper Flagg, but over the last 2 games, he's been averaging 33 and 13 rebounds. And so I look at that individual matchup, right? It's always fun watching Anthony Davis go against Draymond Green. We know Draymond Green is one of the best defenders that we've ever seen. Watching that
Welcome to Warriors Nation News. We're diving deep into one of the most electrifying trade rumors swirling around the NBA right now. The possibility that the Golden State Warriors could target Michael Porter Jr., one of the league's most lethal three-point shooters and high-efficiency scorers, to push them back into true title contention. It's no secret that this Warriors team has had flashes of brilliance, with Stephen Curry performing at an elite level and Jimmy Butler proving he's still one of the best two-way players in the league. But the supporting cast has simply not provided consistent offense. Golden State currently sits at a middling 15-15 record, and they're just barely hanging on to a playoff spot in the Western Conference, not the position a team with championship aspirations wants to be in. This season has highlighted exactly why the Dubs need a dynamic scorer on the wing who can space the floor, take pressure off Curry, and make defenses pay for double teams and rotations. That's where a player like Michael Porter Jr. enters the conversation. According to the latest reports, the Warriors have been engaged in trade discussions with multiple teams as they gather intel ahead of the February 5th trade deadline. And one name that keeps popping up as a high-impact potential acquisition is Nets forward Michael Porter Jr. The Brooklyn Nets have been reportedly listening to offers for Porter Jr., who is having one of the most productive seasons of his career, averaging around 25.7 points and 7.3 rebounds per game, while also spacing the floor with his three-point shooting and driving ability. Now let's be clear, landing a player of Porter Jr.'s caliber would not come cheap, and it would almost certainly require significant assets in return. But the fact that the Nets are open to listening to offers and facilitating multi-team trades, potentially including Golden State, opens the door to a blockbuster move that could change the trajectory of this season for the Warriors. For a franchise that has been built around spacing, ball movement, and elite shooting, Porter Jr. is the kind of player that fits seamlessly into Steve Kerr's system. He has the size to shoot over defenders, the shooting touch to keep defenses honest beyond the arc, and the scoring ability to thrive off of simple catch-and-shoot opportunities or quick reads when Curry draws attention. His presence would immediately elevate the Warriors' offensive rating, which currently ranks near the bottom of the league, particularly when compared to the elite offenses in the Western Conference. And it's not just about offense. Adding Porter Jr. would force opposing defenses to spread out in a way that a roster of defenders and slashing wings just hasn't been able to accomplish consistently this season. He would give Kerr the spacing needed to open up driving lanes for Curry and Butler and create open corner threes not just for himself, but for role players like Brandon Podziemski and Moses Moody. The ripple effect of adding someone with scoring gravity at Porter Jr.'s level cannot be overstated. Golden State fans have long dreamed of adding a 3-and-D wing who can score in volume, and Porter Jr. is arguably the most ready-made version of that type of player available right now. Now, the proposed trade scenarios we're seeing in mock deals suggest that a potential transaction could look something like this. The Warriors would receive Michael Porter Jr., a near-elite scorer and one of the most dangerous shooters in the NBA. And in exchange, they might have to send multiple young players, such as Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, and picks to facilitate the deal. While that might sting for some fans who love Kuminga's raw potential and Moody's development, the reality is this franchise is not in a position where it can wait years for pieces to grow up. Championship windows, especially ones involving Stephen Curry, do not stay open forever, and Golden State is rapidly approaching a crossroads where it must decide, do we contend now or do we watch this season slip away? Critics might point to the cost, and they're not wrong to be cautious, because giving up a young talent in Kuminga is no small thing. Kuminga has shown intriguing glimpses of two-way play, and his athleticism and defensive versatility are traits that teams covet. But the counter-argument here is that Michael Porter Jr. is in the prime of his career, a 27-year-old who is producing at an elite rate and making every shot count. At a time when the Warriors need a serious offensive upgrade, adding a go-to scorer like Porter Jr. would instantly relieve Curry of the nightly scoring burden and give defenses another major threat to worry about, one who can run off screens, create his own shot, and stretch the defense to the perimeter. It's worth mentioning that the Nets themselves stand to benefit from this kind of deal. Brooklyn is clearly in a rebuilding phase, and turning a star like Porter Jr. into future draft capital and young assets could accelerate their timeline without holding on to a player who might not be part of their long-term plan. So, from an organizational standpoint, this could be a mutually beneficial deal, a true win-win trade that helps both teams based on their current goals. Contrast this with other recent trade rumors. For example, the Warriors have also been connected to wings like Trey Murphy III and defensive additions like Nick Claxton or big men such as Robert Williams III, and it becomes clear that the front office is not just dabbling in trade discussions. They are actively searching for moves that will allow Golden State to climb the standings, make a real playoff push, and maximize Steph Curry's twilight years at the highest level. Let's talk about the urgency of this situation for a moment. The Western Conference is deep, with hungry teams like the Thunder, Nuggets, Lakers, and Mavericks battling for positioning. The Warriors cannot afford to sit stagnant at 500 and hope for a mid-tier seed to carry them. They need to make a statement. They need a roster shakeup that signals to the league and to the fans that Golden State is still in the hunt for a championship, that this team isn't content with mediocrity and is willing to make bold moves to get back to the top. Bringing in a scorer of Michael Porter Jr.'s caliber would do exactly that. I know some of you are thinking about the asset cost, about giving up a young star with upside, about how this changes the team's culture. But let's be honest with ourselves. A move like this could be the defining moment of this Warriors era. It could be the turning point that puts Golden State back into true contention, that reinvigorates the fan base, and that gives Curry the help he's been crying out for night after night. So, it's time to ask you, Warriors Nation, what do you think? Should the Warriors pull the trigger on a blockbuster trade for Michael Porter Jr.? Is this the move that finally gives them the offensive spark and spacing they've been missing? Or do you think Golden State should hold on to its young talent and wait for another opportunity? Drop your opinion in the comments below, smash that like button if you believe this could be the trade that changes everything, and make sure you hit that subscribe button, because we will be bringing you the latest Warriors trade news, analysis, and reaction every step of the way on Warriors Nation News. Let's go!